Ina.
And we are immigrating to Canada. And we decided to make a vlog of the whole process as we go. And we got some questions that we'd like to answer. So one of the questions is, how do you get started? So basically how does this whole thing work? So I thought we'd make a whole video on that because it's a fair bit of information, I reckon.
Yeah. Off the cuff, we didn't use an immigration officer.
Okay, but before we get there, let's just answer some of the other questions. All right, so let's talk about how to immigrate to Canada. Where do you start? What do you do? So you need, there's about 50 different ways to do it. So as Ina said in the very beginning, we didn't use immigration consultant. Obviously they'll know on all the different avenues what is a better, different way to immigrate. I know there's farming programs, there's programs on the East Coast for which is quite easy to get in. I think they call that one the Atlantic Immigration Pilot. Yeah, so for me, we got in obviously via British Columbia on the Tech Pilot program. So there's a short list of jobs there that the province has shortlisted, but as their skills need, and I fall within that, so I could be employed without getting a labour market impact assessment. I did mention that in other videos before. So we're going in under British Columbia's Provincial Nominee program, which basically guarantees our express entry. So we get that 600 bonus points on express entry. But basically, what you got to do before, you got to figure out where do you qualify. What are your options, and that's going to be based on your age, based on your skill, qualification, language ability. Those are the things. So the easiest way to sort of get a feel for where you're at is go to the website, read up under the CIC or the Canada immigration thing. There's quite a lot of information and specifically parts describe how they score you in that comprehensive ranking system, the CRS system. And then you can create a profile there. But before you can create a profile, you need to have your language results. So you need to do either the English or the French language tests, and you need to score above a certain mark. So for English, I know nothing about French, but for English you have to get above 6 for every category. There's listening, reading, writing, and what's the other one? Comprehension. Speaking. Yeah, speaking. So you can straight away go and book your language test. There's quite a long waiting list for these things. I know friends of ours wanting to go to Canada as well, and they took them about 4 or 5 months to get an opening to be able to go do their language test. The other thing you need to do when you create your profile is you have to have your credentials. It's probably not needed to create your profile, but eventually once you start engaging with anyone, or if you're aiming to get approved, you're going to have your credentials evaluated. So you need to go to your university or college and get signed and sealed transcripts. So
academic transcripts.
Yeah, academic transcripts. So your university, we had to go to our separate universities. They would print out all our years worth of academic courses with the respective marks, seal it in the university envelope, and then stamp on the back of that thing, so they know it's not been tampered with. And then we'd courier that out to, we use WES, World Education Services, I think. I think they're based in Toronto.
And it gets posted.
Yeah, so you courier it there, and then they took about 4 months, eh?
Yes.
So about 4 months to have that process done as well. And you need to upload these things onto your profile in order to prove that your qualification is equivalent to a Canadian qualification. So my qualification, electrical engineer, the paper came back saying it's equivalent to a Canadian electrical engineer. So basically, that's what you need. So if it's whatever qualification you have, that's obviously not required to get in, but all of these things are going to give you marks. So if you create your express entry profile, you get deducted your age. It counts against you. So they want young people to come into the country. So we turning 40 next year. So we lose quite a lot of points because we are older. So they want, I think from 28 they start deducting points. So you have to, so if you want to get in straight away with the express entry without getting a job, because then you get your permanent residence, without actually getting a job or without needing a job, then you got to be young and qualified, get your qualification evaluated, put all these things on the express entry profile and see where your score lands up. At the moment the cutoff's about 460 odd, around about there, and we were quite a bit below that. We were, I think it's 440 the cutoff, and we were at 360. So I mean there's no way that we can get better qualifications or anything different to boost our points enough to be able to get in. Even a job, like if you get a job offer, it only counts for 50 points. If you get a high profile senior management position, then it counts for 150 points. So that would have put us in, but that's obviously quite a very specialized, narrow market to try and get a executive position from a different country, moving across.
Just as a start. The other thing that is really good to have is to apply for police clearance and to keep it updated. Keep it updated. It's a very long waiting process, all of this paperwork for immigration. Even you think you've been so successful, you've submitted things, and then you start waiting for more processing. And sometimes police clearance takes a long time. Sometimes it takes only 2 weeks. If you do your police clearance, always tick that box that says you're going to courier it yourself, and the couriers will pick it up again at Pretoria police station. So yes, keep that updated, because as the process goes along for 2 years, we've probably updated ours 5 times, and it's a massive stop, 4-way stop when you don't have it updated.
Yeah, if it's not updated, exactly. So we actually just received ours 2 days ago. And
our newest ones.
Our latest ones, and our previous one expired, about 2 months ago?
Yes.
Maybe even 3 months ago. So that was quite a stressful sort of wait for us now, because if we get our visas, we don't have a current police clearance. So your police certificates are valid for
6 months.
For 6 months only. Your education is valid for 4 years. I think it's 4 years.
Language.
Your language test is valid for 2 years. So you can do your language test and your education straight away. Then you've got a 2-year window, and then you have to redo your language test. But your police clearance, depending in the country that you're in, how long it takes, I would recommend every 3 or 4 months you want to go for police clearance, so you have a current police clearance. It's not very expensive in our country. I mean, it's more the paperwork and the headache of actually waiting for this thing to come back.
And often waiting for an appointment, because with COVID, they issue you an appointment, and often you have to wait for 3 weeks for an appointment only, and then the processing time.
So I would definitely give myself 2 or 3 months sort of overlap from when you apply before your other one expires, so that you try and sort of always have a current police certificate.
The other handy thing to start doing is to start contacting previous employers and get a proper letter of employment, proof of employment letter on a letterhead from them. That can take a bit of time, especially if you're one of those people who didn't just have 1 or 2 jobs in the past 10 years. That's what they'll be looking for, and that takes time as well. So on
your express entry profile, once you now get invited to apply, you need to put your entire work history in. For the last 10 years, they require then on a company letterhead saying that Ina worked or Andries worked at this place from this date to this date, and this was their position. And they actually ask for pay stubs as well. So if you have a pay slip or salary slip or whatever it is, for that period, to prove that you actually were there. So for us, it's pretty simple. I basically worked for myself, and I worked for BMW. So in the last 10 years, it's quite and then the 2 jobs I did in Canada, which I actually have stuff for.
So it counts a lot for you if you have foreign work experience. That's what they're looking for. Young people with proper degrees and then foreign work experience. That's really important. And preferably work experience that exceeds a year in a place.
Yeah,
so
no, it doesn't actually count. If it's under a year, it counts for nothing.
Count.
Yeah. So the ways to boost your express entry, you want to get into that cut-off score so they actually invite you. And the ways to do that is obviously your language test, but your language test, you just need to qualify. I don't actually think you get too much bonus. You do actually get a bit of bonus points for it, but it's not enormous. If you get a job, obviously you can. For us, the big change was the job I got with Provincial Nominee as well. So the Provincial Nominee gives you 600 points, so then you're guaranteed to get invited for permanent residence on the express entry system, that is. But if you get just a job without Provincial Nominee, you get some bonus points. Like I said, it's either 50 points for a normal job or 150 points if it's an executive position, which it's obviously a hard thing to come by, I think. And then very important, I mean, probably the easiest way you could do it is getting foreign work experience. So they give you quite a lot of bonus points if you spent a year in another country working, and if it's more than 2 years, then you get even more points. So that's definitely a way that you could make make up some more points. Just go work in another country, get travel and foreign experience, and then Canadian experience also counts a lot. So if you can get into Canada and work there, then that would be a sure way to get a lot of extra points. Yeah.
It would be a good idea to browse some of the provinces on their websites to see what kind of immigration programs they are running.
Yeah.
So there's the British Columbia nomination program, and then there's also the Manitoba one, and obviously Nova Scotia has a nice one, the Atlantic one, and then because they have a different list of occupations that they want, and often they offer incentive. I know Manitoba offers I believe is it a tax incentive or is it
I don't know what you're
There's an
talking
incentive for people to immigrate there to that province. So that would be good. There's something for everyone. Like creative people and writers are listed as desirable immigrants for British Columbia. It's not always the most obvious things you think.
Yeah, 100%. So definitely go into all the provinces, have a look. As I said earlier, on the East Coast, there's the Atlantic Immigration Pilot, or whatever, Atlantic Pilot Program. So basically, there the employers register with the province, and they can employ people, foreigners, without having to prove anything. They can just employ you like as if you were there. And that's obviously an easy way to land a job and get into the country. So if you get Provincial Nominee for any province, then you're in, and you're guaranteed to be in on permanent residence. But what we're actually trying to do is getting in there earlier with just based on a work permit. So we want to get in with a work permit, and then while we wait for our permanent residence to be finalised, because that's going to take a few months to actually be done. But we've been waiting so long now for the work permit that we're actually going to do our permanent residence application now. The idea was to do it in Canada itself once we're there.
Obviously, also there's a big consideration of finance, because it takes incrementally just quite a bit of finance to apply for all of these little thingies. So that is a big consideration as well.
Yeah.
It's good to be prepared for that, as I say, incrementally. So it's this bit and then that bit, that bit. And if you do apply in the end for your express entry before actually being present in Canada, there's also an amount that you have to show for the size of your family. That they will require.
Yeah, so that's on the website itself, and it shows you for a family of 5. I think we need to have about $27,000 or $28,000 in our basically available as money relocation cost. But anyway, so if you're a single person, that's way less, and if you're a bigger family, then I think it's 5 and more. So we're like in the top category at the moment. What do you want to say?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, so finding a job is, for us, it was the catalyst to make this whole thing work. And obviously it's hard approaching people from South Africa or different foreign country. I'm sure people get approached quite a lot foreigners asking for work and asking for positions and obviously wanting to immigrate. Canada is a desirable first world country that lots of third world countries like the one I live in want to go to. And depending on your personal situation, obviously your desire may be higher or lower. But for me to find a job, well, I just searched on the internet. I found Indeed.ca was quite helpful for me. And what I did was, for my CV or my resume, I actually made a video. So interview video like this, where I just spoke about my job, and I put some screenshots and photos and things like that in overlaid, just showing, and I think it presents nice. It's quite a nice way to get a different view than just a normal standard CV that the persons get. So the response was pretty positive to that, and that's how I ended up getting the job that I have at the moment.
And apparently for Canadian employers, it is important that you write a nice cover letter introducing yourself, and we were also advised that it is good for them to have a nice color photo of you and your family. They like to see apparently that you are committed to your family, that you wanted to come over and build a new life. It's not just you alone, that you are dependable in that way. And then the other thing is to have a resume of about just 2 pages.
Yeah. So a lot of people said it's a 2-page resume, which I found hard. I found it really, really hard to put sort of all the nice meaty information into 2 pages.
What we also did was we ran an Excel spreadsheet to see how many points would he get if he was the first main applicant for immigration, and how much would I get.
Yeah.
So sometimes that helps. I've heard other people immigrating who just one of the spouses chose that they were the main applicants because they just scored higher.
Yeah. So that's definitely something you can do, is evaluate your wife or your partner's scoring versus yours. And then look, so there's another program that's actually hands down the easiest way to get into Canada for starters, and that is if you are under 30 years old. I think it's 30, but I saw 35. But anyway, read up on it if you do qualify for it. You can get what they call the Canadian Experience Visa. So it's a 1-year open work permit visa. There's a handful of things you can't do. You can't go into medical. You can't go into.
You cannot teach, and you cannot work in any agriculture.
Agriculture and medical. I think medical as well. You can't be a nurse or a doctor, I think. But other than that, it's an open work permit. But I did see on their website, as I was reading up on the COVID things, that they're not processing those visas currently. But perhaps by the time you're watching this video, that's changed. So we don't know. So that's very, very simple. It's a short application time. It's a cheap visa to get in, and it's a 1-year visa though. And then what that'll allow you to do is to get into the country, get a proper job, and meet some people. And then while you're in that position, actually, you even apply for your express entry, your permanent residence. I think that'll be quite easy. The only thing is you can't extend that visa.
Yeah, it's very strictly not extendable.
Yeah, very strict. So you gotta. So we actually looked at that before coming back, and we would have then gotten another visa or work permit or whatever, and then basically I just crossed the border like on the US side, and then come back.
Don't take that as that's what you should do.
Yeah.
We've heard of people thinking that they can do that, and then they weren't allowed in Canada anymore. So don't take our word for it. Just
make sure it works.
Do your research.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if you've got a work permit or a visa in hand, then there's no reason why they would stamp you out, just not allow you back in. So
well, the bottom line is that the Canadian experience Canada Experience Visa is a nice way of getting a full year's worth of experience in Canada, and if you can stretch that year to the max so that it can actually count, it is good also to know what you're deciding. I mean, obviously it's expedient to have had experience living in Canada and seeing if you like it. Yeah, and I mean that for us, I mean, so we did that 10 years ago, and that's one of the reasons why we decided we want to go back and make it permanent. Yeah. Yes. All right, cool. I think that's it. So once again, leave us some questions in the
in the comments below, and we'll try and answer those as best we can. And we thank you for watching. Cool. See you next time.
Cheers.
Bye. So one of the questions was property. One of the guys asked us about the property. How did we sell the house? Do we own a house? Are we keeping it, selling it, that sort of thing? So we do not own this house that we're living in. We're renting. So for the last 2 years, when we decided to move to Canada, we could have entered the property market, but we didn't because we knew we were going to immigrate. So that's it. So for us, it's quite simple. We just leave we just give up our rent and we go. So we'll probably stay in this house for 3 more weeks, I think. And that's it. One of the other questions was, how did we find work? So for me, Ina obviously is not working. She's raising the kids, which is probably more work than I do in a day. So I found Indeed.ca was the website that I found was the best, the most applicable, I would say. It's got a nice search algorithm, and for me in the engineering sector, I found sort of applicable work in that website, and that's also where I got the job. In fact, that's where I got both jobs. So the first job that I got, and then I got a better job, which I then took, which we're going to. So that's it. That's basically the best way. I don't know. And then I also contacted a whole bunch of employers directly. So the solar market is not so vast. So I looked for everyone in the British Columbia province that's doing solar, and I basically emailed them all. There's probably about 50 of them, maybe, I think.